Oh,
Good
terrific.
morning.
Good morning. Good morning. Congratulations to the both of you for this film.
Thank you.
And not to mention this this was showcased at the Sundance Film Festival. Was it earlier this year?
Yes. Like
Wow,
in January.
that must have been a very long time ago for a lot of us. So
It feels like a parallel universe almost to what we currently live in.
so let's start off with the easy question. Patricia, where did the original idea came from for you to make a film like Leyenda Negra?
So my first contact with Compton High School was with Mr. Juan Reynoso, who's the head of TV and media production there. And apart from being one of the teachers there, he's also a professional actor. And I'd worked with him before on a short film that we shot in Compton. I'd had a really good experience. And when I told Mr. Reynoso that I wanted to make a feature, he was the one who suggested speaking to some of his students that were in his class. And so I came one day after school and I met with them and I spoke with them, and a lot of them are Latino and a lot of them go through what every other average American teenager goes through, but a lot of them also have immigration statuses that are currently under attack by this administration. And that's how the seed for the idea first germinated, was kind of taking that coming of age story, but then also adding those immigration and LGBTQ elements.
So when did it became your decision to use high school students from Compton into a film like this?
Well, Monica and Irlanda, they had both recently graduated. So technically speaking, I guess no one was still a student, but it was really a question of having the script, having the characters, having that silhouette for each character. And then when I started meeting the Monica and Irlanda and Kaylee, like seeing that they had the potential to really bring that character to life and flesh it out.
So for you, Monica, what attracted you to do something like this, and what was your initial response when Patricia approached you for a project like this?
Well, I was out of town for when I got the message. My friend texted me. I was in Mexico visiting my mom, and I had my friend was like, I don't know if you met Patricia, she wants to do the film. It's about this, and that, and I think you fit the character. Would you like to, be in it? Do you want me to send her your picture? And I remember just looking at my mom, and my sister was there. My sister always wanted to become an actress, so she was like, go for it, you should just do it. And my mom is like, Mija, if you want to do it, just go for it. And I'm like, okay, you know what, I'll do it. Send her my information and let's give this a shot, because I also did drama in high school. So I'm like, let's do it, and let's see if I can get out of my shell more to be able to go out through the film.
So how relatable is the character to you, Monica?
I want to say almost all of the character. I remember telling Patricia, because that was me in high school. That was me. I was the girl that always had my hoodie and always had my music playing around. Like, I was going from one class to another, and everybody would always ask me, were you mad when you were passed? I'm like, no, why? She's like, because you look mad. You all had your music. Like, if something was going on, I'm like, no, that's just me. So in a way, Aleteia is the same way. So in a way, we're kind of the same, and we're both, she's, and the difference is that she's more not like, she'll speak up for what she has to say. And I would do it sometimes, but most times, like, I stay quiet, and I stay because I get too shy. So I think I learned something from Aleteia was to, get out there if I need to say something, and stop, being shy and try to stay in a corner. So that's also something that I learned from her.
Patricia, how did you want to approach directing young actors in a film like this?
Well, I've worked with non-actors before in my short films. And I think that the most important thing to really get the best out of non-actors is you have to get them to lose their fear of the camera. I think that's the most important thing, is to get them to an emotional space within the scene where they forget that the camera is there, and so they can really just focus on the scene partner and really live those beats.
Monica, how long did it really take you to adjust, according to Patricia?
When we started actually filming, I think it was just the first day that I was really nervous, but because every rehearsal she would bring the camera and start recording us to also show us, like, you know, well, you did it this day like this. So I think that helped me a lot when it was time to actually film. And she said, do you remember this? What were you thinking? And bring that back. That really helped me. I wasn't used to being in front of the camera. I was used to being behind it. So it was a big step. But once it got actually back day to the first day of filming, I was pretty comfortable because I was kind of used to it already being there. So it was just more the people around me I was like, oh, okay,
New.
So Monica, are you, because this is your basically your feature film debut here, did you mainly stuck to the script, or was there a little bit of leeway?
I wanted to stick to the script how she wanted it, because I wanted to give her her vision as she was writing the script. But every once in a while that she would be like, you know, well, how would you feel? How would you say this? How would it be? You know, I guess she wanted, you know, to make it as natural as possible. So sometimes I would, but other times I would just try to like stick to it to make her vision come alive, you know, the way she pictured it in her head.
But Patricia, why is Compton so important to you for this story and using it as a setting?
Well, I think that there are quite a lot of films that show the Latino community in East LA. I think most people, when they think of like, oh, Latino communities in LA, it's really more like the East Side. And there are a few that talk about the Latino community in Compton and how like that's one of the big differences I think you see between that community in East LA and the community in Compton, is that there's like a mixing together of like the African American community and the Latino community. And that makes for like a very specific cultural diversity that you don't really see anywhere else in LA, at least from my experience.
So what was the backdrop? Was that actually Compton High that you actually used for filming?
That's right. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of hard to get permission to film there, but my producers did finally persevere. But I think we got it like maybe only 3 days before we actually were going to start filming there, so it was kind of stressful.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Monica. Did you graduate from Compton too?
Yes, I graduated from Compton High. That year that we started filming, when we started filming, I had just graduated.
So what was it like? Because you graduated, and then all of a sudden your very first job is to film back in high school. What was that feeling?
I felt like I was home in a way. I felt like I've never left. I felt like I was at home. It was new because we filmed at night. And I'm like, well, I've never been at my school at night. So it was like also like an adventure for me, because I'm like, so this is how it is. It's pretty lonely. I liked it. But it was home to me.
Great. Now, all the cast, were they all from Compton High, Patricia?
The majority were. The only of the kind of more lead roles, the only one who wasn't was Justin Avila, who went to another high school. Do you know which one?
No, I don't remember.
Yeah, but he didn't go to Compton High, but he was Sammy's friend. So Sammy helped me find Justin.
And MJ.
And MJ too, that's a good point, who was actually at Santa Monica College. Like MJ's a little bit older, so she's already a college student.
So Monica, were they your classmates, or you just knew them in passing, or were you friends with some of these people that were on production?
Yeah, so actually, Erlanda, who is Monica in the film, she is actually my friend. So I had already known her because we had classes prior. So she was already my friend for like 2 years prior to the film. And then the other ones, we had what was TV production, and we had our own crew that would film the football game. So most of them were already in the crew, so we were already friends. We already knew each other. We were comfortable filming because, as you know, in the industry, you always have to be close to one another, especially if you're doing audio and you're doing camera. So we're already comfortable enough with each other because of the crew.
Wow. So this made your job easy, right, Patricia? That that the cast already kind of got along with each other.
I think that there was definitely an ease in terms of like the dynamic that they already had with each other. Like there was less of that kind of nervousness because they were familiar with each other.
Excellent. And Monica, what was the most difficult thing you had to do? Because, you know, being a first time, you know, film actor, this everything would probably be difficult. But what was the toughest scene?
I want to say the most tough thing about the film was my accent. So there were certain words that I couldn't pronounce. So there's some that even days prior filming that scene that I was like at home rehearsing, and that I was still messed up even in the film, during the film that like, we're recording. I'm like, no, Monica, that's not the word. And I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm trying to say it the best way I can. And like, you know, Patricia will pull me aside and we'll just repeat words and repeat them until like, it was like, okay, I think I'm comfortable enough to go with saying my line without messing it up. So I think that was like the most difficult part.
But there's only a couple, like advanced parole was a specifically tough one.
Yes.
And self-obsessed.
And self-obsessed, yes.
But we got, she says I'm perfect now.
I got the words down now.
Excellent. Patricia, a lot of people are going to be watching this film, and the very first question they're going to ask themselves is, why black and white? Why did you want to go with that aesthetic?
So in discussions with my DP, we were thinking about thematically what the film touches upon, and the film, it considers cycles of history. It talks about colonialism, persecution of the other, intolerance and indifference, and it essentially asks the question, tradition or change. And so for me and my DP, we were thinking about that French idiom, plus ça change, but then also we thought that the black and white would be a fitting visual representation of the polarity of choices our lead character is forced to make as a potentially undocumented immigrant today in the United States.
I'm actually quite fascinated, is because the fact that when you try to bring up the issue of undocumented immigrants, you were specific on bringing up the issues of El Salvadorians, where I'm actually talking to you from Fresno in the Central Valley, and that we actually have a large contingent of El Salvadorians. Could you talk about why you wanted to basically focus on that specific group?
So when I started writing the script, which was kind of at the end of 2017, the beginning of 2018, a death knell had already been rung for TPS, which really has now been definitively rung, because as of now, TPS will terminate for El Salvador next year, unless of course there is an appeal and that appeal is successful. So it was at that time that it was kind of, it was very prominent in the news. And also at that time, TPS was going to be terminated in September. And that's when I started thinking about the teenagers who were getting ready to go to university, and how big of an effect it was going to have on their lives, that they were going to have their right to education taken away from them, that they were going to risk deportation, and they were going to be sent back to a country that they probably didn't even remember. So that's really why it came to the forefront for me.
Absolutely, and politically, one of the things that I have never seen people actually brought in were Latinos for Trump, which makes up 24 to 26% of California, and I actually know quite a few of them because they lie that they support for Biden, but then they secretly, you know, vote for Trump. Talk about bringing that into perspective into your movie, because a lot of people don't know, because they assume all Hispanics are the same.
Actually, do you want to answer that? Because we were just talking about that right now.
Yeah.
As someone that is in the
Latino community.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that prior. I haven't seen, me personally, I haven't seen those type of Latinos. Like I do say, like, I feel like if I do run into them, like, we're all gonna have our different points of views. But it's kind of hard to say what would really happen, you know, like, we don't judge, I don't judge nobody, you know, you do you. If that's your preference, you know, you have your reasons. Thank God. Saying no, but I haven't met any Latinos for Trump. I haven't met no Latinos that are like, you know, well, that's not us, well, we don't think the same, or you're different, or, you know, you're I've never met, thank God yet, a Latino who would discriminate me for being an immigrant, or for saying, you know, like, oh, well, where you come from, you know. Every Latino that I've met so far is always like, oh, well, you know, we're family, basically, you know, we're in a community that we're a family, and everybody that I've met has been taking it in like, oh, you know what, well, now you're my sister, you know, now we're little sisters, you know. We meet somebody that can actually say, we're in this together and it's gonna be okay. So, but I'm still young, life is still gonna go on. So I might find some people, some Latinos that are like that, but I haven't met any yet at the moment. I don't know about you, Patricia.
I mean, I think that it's, at least from what I've understood, that there's a certain stigma against immigrants and against immigration, and that there are people in the Latino community that they want to kind of separate themselves from immigrants and immigration. And that's kind of what the film touches upon, that, you know, talking about Latinos, like, they're not a big homogenous group, like they come from like lots of different countries and different continents too. And obviously they're not all gonna think the same way. So that's what the film kind of touches upon, is that there is a political spectrum within the Latino community. And Latinos for Trump, we know they do exist, and they came out in force to vote. So there's proof. But essentially, I mean, you know, beyond politics, I think that there comes a point where it's about human rights and about immigrant rights, and it has to kind of go beyond political preference, and we just have to talk about what's right and wrong. And for me, the most important thing is empathy, and that's really what the film is advocating for, is empathy with the plight of these TPS eligible teens.
Absolutely. That's a great message. Well, let me leave with one more thought, because obviously we're speaking, you know, via Zoom because of you know, pandemic reasons, and obviously you ladies are together in the same room. But how are you staying sane and creative during all these months?
Oh, I have two little ones. I have a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old. So I think they keep me busy. We keep each other company. You know, one goes to school and the other one is potty training. So they keep me busy and I keep them busy. So I think for me, it's having us to know that, okay, well, today we have a schedule. Even though we can't go out, we still have a schedule. You do school, we do potty, and we just have to go like this. I have a little front yard. So like, once it goes down, we relaxing. Okay, let's go outside and let's play for a little bit. We have a little dog that he runs around. So I think that's, for me, that's what's keeping us, you know, not going crazy.
Monica keeps me sane. And in terms of creativity, I'm currently in a Sundance Lab, which is the Film 2 Fellowship, which has been really good because it's kind of keeping me on track to write and develop the script for my next feature.
Excellent. That sounds great. Well, hey, ladies, congratulations for your film. It's very enjoyable. I love the message throughout the entire film. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Gabe.